Anyway, yeah, so just today, actually, I have my passport on the table because just today I was doing the airplane tickets and the hotel reservations and that kind of thing for Chiang Mai. So this is very much a present concern for me. And yeah, I don't know. It's been about 10 years since I've been in Chiang Mai. I don't know. Did you see? I mean, all my videos are obscure. I had one video called "Riding a Bicycle is Not the Meaning of Life." Did you know about that one? Yeah.
It's been a while.
One of the really long bike rides I made. It was not complete. It wasn't intentional. At one point, my computer broke. I was living in Laos in Vientiane, and the closest shop where I could buy Macintosh software at that time was in Chiang Mai. So I went on a bike trip in order to repair my Mac, which is crazy on many different levels. And I went this really, really long distance going west from Vientiane, the capital of Laos, all the way to Chiang Mai. You've been to Vientiane, though, on a visa run. Yeah, I thought you had at least one video about that. Yeah. So, yeah, we live in the same orbit. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so I'm looking at all those things again, and I guess, again, Chiang Mai will become part of my life. One question I was going to ask you, don't worry, we'll get on to the real conversation in a second, but I was just talking to another vegan YouTuber. I guess I can name him. I was talking to Jake Eames. This is not private. It's okay. I was talking to Jake Eames, and he's also going to Chiang Mai soon. He's going to be there soon. We're not there at the same time, but I said to him, like, we were talking about it, I was giving him advice. I said to him, like, honestly, there's nothing to do in Chiang Mai. I don't hate it. I'm not saying it's a terrible place to go, but like I had all these suggestions for things to do in other cities in Thailand. Oh yeah, in Lopburi and different the northeast of Thailand, the south of Thailand. But it was like, Chiang Mai, it's a city, but what do you do there? So I'll ask you. So you've been living in Chiang Mai for a while. What do you do there, or what?
Yeah. So I used to go up the mountain like all the other like bike rider, also for people. And then at some point I just like stop and focus on more other things. And now what I do is I do gymnastics twice a week. And I started learning Japanese.
Oh, really? Okay.
So yeah.
Well,
At the beginning I thought I would just because I always wanted to learn Japanese, so I thought I'd just start learning Japanese and then do a little bit of Thai since I'm Italian. Right. But then I'm doing 4 hours a week of Japanese, so it got too much to keep up, so I just left the Thai.
Okay, well, look, I had no idea you had any connection to Japan or Japanese. I just stopped learning Japanese. I had a few videos on that.
Oh,
yeah, but for the past 1 year, I have my Japanese books are underneath my computer monitor, so I would hold them up, but they're just here, and I can't show them to you. But actually, I just did 1 year of Japanese, and I was planning to move to Japan. And as a result, my YouTube channel, I have actually quite a number of vegans in Japan who watch my channel because I was reaching out to them and saying, "Hi, I'm vegan and I'm moving to Japan." But now all of that's canceled, and I'm moving to China instead. But yeah, I just did Japanese. That's interesting though. Do you hang out at one of the universities to study Japanese, or do you have a private tutor, or what?
No, it's Chiang Mai Japanese School.
Oh, wow. Okay, great. I didn't know that exists. No, that's really good. But I've got to tell you, I have a lot of experience living in all of Asia. In terms of money, it makes much more sense to learn Japanese in Thailand than in Japan. Because Japan...
That was actually my thought, just like, oh, it's so much cheaper here. I should just finally learn it since I always wanted to learn it.
It's a real difference, boy. Japan is hopeless for that. And Japan is also set up very, very badly for teaching foreigners. It has to do with different technical details and legal details. But it's so bad. I was actually thinking about learning Japanese in Taiwan, not in Thailand, because Taiwan at least is set up to welcome in foreign students in a certain way. But no, Thailand. I mean, I'd never thought about it. I didn't think there would be. I just didn't really think about it for different reasons. But yeah, Thailand is probably a much better place to learn Japanese than Japan these days, and better vegetarian food, and, better cost of living and all those things. So that's interesting. So what are you thinking? I mean, again, I can edit this out if you don't want it on YouTube, but what are you thinking for the future? Is Japanese just for your interest, or are you thinking about visiting there or working there or what have you in the future?
At the moment, it's just like interest, but I also want to visit or work or whatever opportunity comes up for me in the future.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can honestly say, having studied both languages, both Thai and Japanese is a more difficult language.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it's a question though of what you find rewarding. Also, I mean, with Japanese, for me, what I hoped with Japanese was that it would be the last language I studied. Was that this is a language, in terms of the depth of the books and the newspapers and the literature and the history.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, this can be the language that I'm reading when I'm 60 years old. Like when I'm an old man, this is still the language. Because for me, languages like Thai, even though they're interesting and rewarding, it does not have that kind of depth of interest for me. I would not want to wake up in the morning and read the newspaper in Thai or watch the news on TV in Thai. And I wouldn't want it to be the language I was working on when I was 60 years old either. So obviously this is partly just totally subjective. But when you're thinking about that long-term commitment to the language, Japanese I thought was rewarding. And also just mention in the past, like looking at the last 100 years, I'm not interested in ancient Japanese literature. I'm not. But just within the last 100 years, there's been a lot of really interesting stuff published in Japanese. And you get to see all their crazy attempts to respond to European influence, and they kind of reinvent. We have the saying in English to reinvent the wheel. But they really, but within 100 years, there were so many European ideas and European technologies where the Japanese, they did reinvent it. For them it was new, and they they reacted to it and wrote their own philosophies. So that stuff is kind of fun to see. But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry, that's interesting. But I mean, God, so Anyway, I've just given up on Japanese again and gone back to learning Chinese. So now I hope Chinese will be the last language I have to study. But we'll see. I have mixed feelings about both of them. But God, so you already on to doing the reading and writing aspects of Japanese a little bit? You doing?
Yeah, I got hiragana, katakana, and I just started out with kanji, like the numbers and the date. So very basic.
Well, so I just asked because we can both compare. Did you learn a little bit of how to read and write the Thai language? I know it's hard, but okay. Well, that's the funny thing. So most people say reading and writing Thai is very, very difficult, which you can see just from the science. It's not simple. But I'm in the one class of people for whom it's easy. I had already studied the ancient languages. So Pali and Sanskrit are these ancient languages for the region. So it's really funny, but what all the other foreigners find difficult, and even what Thai people find difficult in the reading, for me was easy. So I had this huge advantage with the reading and writing system. And I say to people, well, it's like if you go to Europe and you've already studied Latin and Greek, and then learning Europe. But of course...
Yeah, it makes everything so much easier. Because I had to study Latin at school.
Oh, yeah.
So I got to a level where I was starting to do the original text, like Caesar and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it is the basis for everything in Europe, basically. Right.
Well, okay, but I mean, so that's really interesting. So Leah, I didn't know this about you. You've got 5 languages under your belt already. But what? Because I know they're all mixed.
Italian, English, Latin, and
Right, and Japanese, and we're not counting Thai. But if you wanted to, you could add. You could add Thai. I know.
I just know kapunka, a few numbers, and
But if
basic stuff.
When you're applying for a university, you can add Thai to your list of languages. You can exaggerate that one. It's okay. But that's interesting. So are you 20 years old now or what? You're about
20.
Okay. Well, look, you've got a lot of advantages in life. Then that's great. I mean, I'm happy for. The thing is, I say I'm happy for you. Actually, I'm sad for you because I know how much work it is to study languages. And with any one of those languages, you don't know how much will it be part of your future or what have you. Even German. You speak English so well now. I knew a German guy in Thailand, and he, even though he was born speaking German, then he didn't speak German for 30 years living in Thailand. So it is strange. It's wonderful to work on a lot of languages, but it can also be kind of sad and a lot of suffering and what have you. Yeah. Anyway, wow, that's really cool. No, I didn't know that about you, but I mean, look, the other thing that's great is have you visited Japan already or no?
No.
Okay, yeah. Well, no, it's good because you'll really be in a position to think critically about each of these countries. Like, you've seen Thailand, you know what's good about Thailand, you know what's bad about Thailand. So when you see Japan, you know what I mean? You won't have an extreme perspective on it. You'll be able to see it in a spectrum of things. The other thing I'll mention is, many Japanese people are boring. It's a secret. Nobody wants to admit this. But in Thailand, you meet really interesting Japanese people. In Cambodia, in Laos, even, in Kunming, I met really interesting Japanese people outside of Japan. And of course, when you're really in Japan, they're pretty boring. 99% of people are boring. And, I know that effect works both ways. When I was living in Vientiane, the capital city of Laos, I met people who would say to me, "Oh, Canadians are all so wonderful." I'd be like, What are you talking about? What's good about us? What are you talking? And they'd say, "Oh yeah, I knew this surgeon who volunteered to come here and help poor people during the war, and he was Canadian." It'd be so this like that guy is not a normal Canadian. It's not like the people who do humanitarian work. These wonderful people who leave the country to this. Like, that's not what a normal Canadian is like. So I just say I understand both sides.
Same. It's not.
Yeah.
The average person is very much boring.
Right. But outside of Japan, you meet interesting Japanese people. Anyway, I had to think about these things. I don't know. For my own future, I might open a small hotel. I might go into hotel work. And I was thinking about that. Like, would I want to run a hotel in Thailand using the Japanese language, like a Japanese-oriented? I was thinking about all these combinations. But now, I could go back to Japanese at any time in the future. It would be strange. But I'm thinking now, going to spend this 1 year in Kunming. It should be that now Chinese really becomes my language of scholarship and maybe the language for business in my career. But yeah, also I'll just mention, it's funny for me because I did used to speak the Lao language every day. And when I would speak Thai, I would speak Thai with a Lao accent. I'd be really speaking 80% Lao, 20% Thai, which in Chiang Mai is fine because Chiang Mai is far enough north. Their language is closer. It's more like Lao than Thai. Maybe they won't tell you that. But now for like 10 years, I really never spoke those languages. 8 years, I don't know. I don't want to count. But for many years, I've not spoken those languages. But like people were writing me email asking for advice about Chiang Mai. And I was thinking in Thai and I was typing in Thai and you feel it coming back. So, I don't know. Maybe on this trip, maybe I'll find out that I've totally forgotten the language. And maybe it'll be nice for me to remember. And, look, to bring it back to veganism, the conversation you have most often is, no, I can't eat meat. Does this have milk in it? Like, does this have eggs in it? Like, this is like, of all the vocabulary, this is the vocabulary I'm best at, is explaining what I can't eat. Because you have that conversation in the language every day. Is that, like, you say you speak tourist Thai, but are you constantly saying, is this made of eggs? Or no, you don't have this conversation?
No, I usually just say gin but I basically just go to vegetarian restaurants, so there's no need for
interesting. But what about
to explain myself?
But what about the evil fish sauce? Because people will say they're vegetarian, but then they'll give you food with fish sauce. Have you had this problem or no?
I don't know.
So maybe nampla. That's literally water fish. Nampla. Nampla is fish sauce. And even when I was in Europe, I went into some restaurants, Thai restaurants or Lao restaurants, and I would say in the language, I know you say this is vegetarian, but is it made with nampla, with this fish sauce? Because it's so common to use it. But yeah, it is, and it has actual fish in it. But anyway, it's not the worst thing. But yeah, I learned to live in fear of of some hidden non-vegan ingredients like that. So, okay, cool. So look, the subject for this conversation I want to talk to you a little bit about was, gaining weight on high fruit diets, which is in some ways a taboo topic. I'd like to think just during the last 1 year, though, I think people have gotten a lot more honest about it. Like, it's gone from being a secret to being something people recognize is important and need to talk about.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna listen to you, and I'll ask some questions to prod you along. I would say in general, I think the people for whom the high carb, low fat diet works the best are the people who do not follow the diet. Like people who just in general, like if in general you think eating a lot of fruit is good and eating a lot of vegetables is good, but you don't actually follow this diet, you're not, for example, eating 3,000 calories a day with no exercise or what have you, but you just have a sensible approach, then that can work. But so I'm interested in your story. I'll just ask you, how did you first get into high carb, low fat, or high fruit? Because I think you had a fruitarian period, right? And what your experience was, yeah.
So I came from the headaches that I had before, so constant headaches, migraines. So for me, it was more about health. It was never about losing weight. I also did not come from a restrictive past, not at all. And I think that's kind of important because so many people are coming from an eating disorder to Rotten 4 or veganism, whatever. Also, Freelee and Durnight did not make me go vegan. So I found this raw food, high carb raw food thing. And so I went raw vegan for half a year. And I had no weight issues, but at the same time, it was real hard to get in enough calories since fruit is so low in calories. And I was exercising substantially. I was doing figure skating 3 times a week, usually between 2 and 3 hours at the time. Okay. And then in general, I was just an active person, and we had like sports at school, walking a lot. I'm from a village. I walk everywhere, more or less. Okay. So I was fairly active.
So just to interrupt. So that's interesting, though. But in your first 6 months, where you went raw food and were eating a lot of fruit, obviously, during the first 6 months, though, you actually did not gain weight during that stage, because the excuse, right? You lost weight during that stage?
I lost a little bit of weight because I was like, I had good body shape. I was healthy weight, skinny, whatever, like you want to call it. Never had issues with weight. So going raw, I lost a little bit of weight. It's like a few kilos or so. Then at some point, I guess I was just like eating too low fat, even at the raw vegan diet. So I reintroduced oil, gained a few kilos, and then after half a year of like the raw food period, I had to reinclude cooked food into my diet. Did no oil. And since it was so low fat, I was just like never feeling satisfied. I gained probably 15 kilos within a very short amount of time. And I could eat up, at some points I was eating up to 5,000 calories. So, but I guess like the 3,500 to 4,000-ish was like more the average what I was eating.
So just wondering, how did you get on the diet then? Was that in response to Freelee's advice at that stage when you were thinking that, 4,000 calories was fine?
Yes.
Okay. So
yeah. I actually I got this idea in my head that I had this unhealthy past of like my headaches, and I was drinking a lot of coffee before going vegan to be functioning. Since I couldn't sleep well with the headaches, and it was like a downward spiral, and there was just like not much to do. So I thought, oh my God, it's probably I have to pay for my past.
Right.
And you need to stuff yourself, because if you don't do that, you're not doing the diet right. Or if you just eat one day, not enough, or you don't feel full all the time, you're gonna get metabolic damage. Stupid shit like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting though. I mean, the metabolic damage for one thing, this whole approach encourages the mentality that anytime you feel sleepy, anytime you feel like you don't have enough energy, you should eat more, and you should eat more high calorie, high sugar food. So that already, to me, that's a type of eating disorder. Like, I know it's not as serious as, you know what I mean? It's not as serious as anorexia, but still people who eat compulsively that way, where, you know, whenever you're feeling run down, you feel like you're not energetic, to blame that on, oh, I need more glucose. And to me, that's already unhealthy. And I think one of the things, nobody else seems to take this seriously. I have at least one video where I do take this seriously. For these young women, there was a young woman who used to be a model, and then she's not modeling anymore because of that. It's like, you know, the idea of metabolic damage, like, oh, well, you're only gaining this weight for a few years.
Yeah, and it's like, it's a few years. Like.
Yeah, and when you're talking about like age 19 to 21, that's a big part of a young person's life. You know, like, you know, I mean, for me, if it's 37 to 39, maybe it's, but, you know, I think, you know, nobody seems to take seriously. This is something that really does damage people's lives. I mean, the difference between being, you know, of being overweight for those couple of years in the prime of your life, it can influence you in all kinds of ways. For one thing, it can destroy your career in sports if you really are serious about sport, or can destroy your career as a model for the woman who was a model. So just say people seem to not take that seriously, as if metabolic damage, as if it doesn't matter just because it has this fancy name.
Yeah, it's like kind of religious, you could compare it to some kind of religious belief where you have to like sin for your past or something like that.
Right.
Like repay.
Right. Yeah. But so for you,
there's some part to it because you obviously damaged your body in the past, and I was like suffering from the headaches, but that shouldn't necessarily show in my weight. Right.
So just wondering though, your headaches, I know you had doctors involved. Were those diagnosed as being related to dairy in your diet, or was there no clear diagnosis? Because many migraine headaches are related to, you know, cheese and dairy. So I just ask.
My doctors didn't find anything. I went to different neurologists. At some point I got like I did a headache calendar or whatever you want to call it, where I was just like for a full year I was filling out every day how I was feeling. And the headaches also include like light sensitivity. Like I couldn't stand if there was some kind of light in a room in front of me, especially unnatural light was really hard for me. I would sometimes even get like just dizzy from it, like really bad. But
okay, good. So I was just asking if that was known to be diet related or if it was unrelated. So I think, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think for some people, even though Freelee's diet is crazy, they think it must be working because it helps them with some other health conditions. So you're wrong, but I imagine that for you and for people like you, the feeling is, well, my headaches got better, so the diet must be good, it must be right, I must stick with it, and I must believe in all the other things because there's this one symptom that got better. Would you say that's true, or do you have any?
Yeah, like when I first switched to cooked food, I got a setback, I'd say, in my headaches because I guess my gut flora wasn't used to the starches, and I had a problem with rice for some times. Like I remember one time I didn't have fruit, so I just ate like rice and vegetables, and I got a migraine for a whole week. Mm-hmm. That was not awesome. Now I don't have any problem with it whatsoever. Yeah. But yeah, like Rotil-4, it can improve other symptoms. So people just take it as a given. Oh yeah, just like I'm just gonna gain weight for a while, but I got better in like another part of my life that was ruined before.
Right. Well, you know, Henya of the channel Henya Mania, this is my interpretation of her, but she had a number of health problems that she thought the Rotil-4 diet had cured. So way back, so a couple years ago, she was a believer because she switched diets and then these health problems went away. But eventually what she figured out was, no, the health problems came back again. Like, you know, they had just gotten better temporarily and they didn't really relate to the diet, and the diet had these other problems. But I think for her, I think it took her several years to get rid of that impression where she felt this diet had cured me. Therefore, this diet has all the answers, and therefore, even if it's 3,000 calories a day, she should follow the other elements of the diet. But that's for you. Correct me if I'm wrong. You actually were already interested in raw foodism before you got involved with Freelee's diet. So for you actually went from a raw food diet to the raw till 4 diet. Okay, that's unusual.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually at the beginning I didn't even understand her accent, so
yeah,
I just couldn't watch the videos for a while.
No, I'm sure you've improved your English by listening to Durian Rider and Freelee swearing a lot. You've learned a lot of curse words from Australia this way. Learning English with Freelee and Durian Rider.
Freelee and Durian Rider 101 English.
So at what point did you stop believing, or when did you start to question the kind of Freelee program? Because I mean, obviously the weight gain alone. So I mean, at some point you noticed that you were gaining weight. Was that what made you question it, or was it a totally unrelated issue?
Not at all, because as I said before, I thought it was just part of the healing process, right. And I never really cared about my weight, and since the diet, so to speak, gave me like my life back in a way, right. It didn't matter to me.
Right. So my question is then, when did you start to question the basic ideas the diet was built on? What I mean, was it just, did you read something, or did you just think about it, and what happened?
Like I always was aware that like it didn't satisfy me, and I figured out it was like too low fat, because I was doing 95.5 for most of the time, and I think it's way too low, especially for a young person.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Did you have any of the other problems with that? Did you lose your period due to the very low fat content, or any other health problems, or no? You did okay.
No, I had generally my health improved. It was just the weight gain, basically, more or less, or because I didn't really put any weight. Like my health was so much more important to me than my weight, so I didn't really care. So it was like even if I didn't feel satisfied. It gave me so much more else back for my life.
Other vitality.
That it just wasn't.
Okay. But correct me if I'm wrong, about 1 year ago today, I think you were still kind of a true believer in Freelee. So I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm guessing. So during the last year, you've been living in Asia and you've been thinking about things from different angles. So I mean, what do you think has changed? You can just speak more generally. What do you think has changed in your life or your understanding during the last year?
I guess just more experience, looking at different people, not just being influenced by one person, starting to think a bit more myself, basic stuff. And also probably that I just didn't really lose any weight, but my health was fine. So I had my health back, and it wasn't like that super awesome effect, since it wasn't just like a week ago that I finally felt better. So that wore off that priority, and the health, the weight one rise, let's say, and started to question that.
No, it's interesting. I mean, I had one person writing into me, one fan of my channel, and she gained a lot of weight. I forget, but more than 40 pounds. She gained a lot of weight over a long time on high carb, low fat. So over years and years. But I would guess, I mean, for her, the combination of I have to do this, it's good for my health, even if when I look in the mirror I'm getting fatter and fatter instead of getting thinner.
Yeah.
But also
like rebounding healing phase that they preach.
Right. Well, but doesn't exist. But then also, I mean, this is paired with, like, emotionally, I'm saving the world. Like, this is morally good. This is the way to save the world. This is the way to cure cancer. This is the way to save the environment. So I think that combination of being beautiful, being strong, saving the world, it's quite for a young person, it's influential. But actually, the woman who wrote to me, she's more than 40 years old. So even for her, I mean, this was quite a powerful kind of, religious experience, this combination of things. Yeah.
Yeah. like I never got too much into the weight thing because I had an experience where in middle school, I was at the boarding school. Like one of the girls that I was in the room with, she became anorexic, and at some point she was just measuring herself and also went to measure myself. Yeah. So that experience like really like set the alarm bells off and always made me aware that don't ever go down that road. Yeah. And she thought she was really fat, and we were about the same like size, and I was like a few centimeters like bigger around my waist, and she was destroyed. She was like, how can you be so skinny? And she was skinnier than me. She didn't get it at all. So that was like an experience that always like made me aware, don't ever like care too much about like your like not the body but like the slimness.
Anyway, look, I'm happy for you in some ways. I mean, at the start of this conversation, I learned you've really kind of turned around your experience in Thailand and made it into an educational opportunity. I mean, if you're getting a basis, I mean that sincerely, studying Japanese and just having the experience of living in Thailand, I hope you're getting something positive out of it. But I mean, at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were also influenced by Freelee and During Rider. At the time, were you planning to never go back to high school? Were you planning to stay dropped out of school, or did it influence the way you thought about your own future that way, and your reasons for being in Thailand or being in Asia? Has that changed or no? If it hasn't, you can say it's fine.
Lots of things have changed. For me, like I always had issues with my family, so there's like a little bit of, let's call it in a very minor way, like conflict. Sure. So for me, going to Thailand was like ecstasy, like on an emotional level. Sure. So for me, like since my experience with school was the best, with the headaches and changing schools, and like the new school I went was like a complete waste of time because I didn't have to study the whole year to pass with decent grades. So it was just like, why am I wasting my time in school when I'm not even learning anything? Combined with the ecstasy feeling of the festival, it seemed stupid to me to go back to that. Right. So I stayed and dropped out of high school, went to travel around Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Singapore, I cycled through Malaysia, and then came back to Chiang Mai, since that was like where the happy feelings came from. Obviously, when I came back, it wasn't the same as the festival, since there wasn't as many people. It was like more of a normal kind of thing. Right. Yeah.
No, I mean, I just say it's interesting, but I mean, now obviously, I mean, in some ways, it's a very negative experience in life, but you've gained some new perspective on it. And I mean, I think you are actually coming out of this a lot, richer for the experience in some sense. But I mean, I think it's interesting with the next Thai Fruit Festival coming up. I think you'll be able to look back and compare how different you are as a person, 1 year ago versus now. And it sounds to me now like you do have some idea for your own long-term future. And, Asia and Asian languages are going to be a part of it, which I can relate to because that's how I felt when I was younger too. And that, ultimately getting an education and getting a real job is a part of it. But, meanwhile, as I say, other people I do see them dropping out of school. I've talked about that repeatedly on my channel. And kind of worshiping this being on vacation forever thing. It's like, well, somebody has to be a medical doctor. Somebody has to go to school and work in a hospital. Somebody, all the things that make life possible, all those respectable roles, all that responsibility, it's still waiting for you. And, not everyone can live like Durian Rider. And not everyone wants to. So, yeah, I try to talk about that stuff. Okay.
And his past is pretty horrible. I mean, from drug use to welfare and everything. Yeah. It's just recently that he, turned his life around.
Yeah, and anyway, I've said that on my channel many times. Like, if he were my own brother, I would just say, I'm so happy for you. Like, I'm so happy you got off the drugs. I'm so happy you're not homeless. I'm so happy you're not in jail. And that would be it. But he's in a very strangely influential position over people who, one way or another are kind of weak enough to fall under his spell, which,
Yeah, because I think like people get like hooked onto them when they were in some kind of like emotionally unstable place. Right. And that's why they look up to them, because they give them direction, they give them like hope, they give them a mission, they give them purpose. So that's why I think also people are so so extreme in their way of like sticking to them, even if they say something completely ridiculous and disrespectful.
Right. Or even if they just gain 20 pounds or gain 15 kilos or whatever, where they're like, ignoring that.
You want to believe in it so much because it like you think it gave you so much value.
Right. Well,
I always preach that. What's it again? Like attitude of gratitude. Carb the fuck up. Harden the fuck up. No excuses. Just do it. That kind of like.
Right, and that also leads ultimately to victim blaming. Because if you're fat, it's your fault. It can't be Freelee's fault. It can't be the diet's fault. You should feel bad, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So I'll just mention.
No way that you have been manipulated or anything, or just like made some belief.
Or just, you may have a job where you can't burn 3,000 calories a day. Not everyone is doing long distance cycling. I've mentioned in my channel, I used to do long distance cycling in Thailand, and it's true. You can burn a ton of calories, just the sweating, even more than the muscular exercise because of the heat. But if you sit at a desk reading books all day, you can't hold down that lifestyle. Anyway, I was just gonna mention, I think it's funny the contrast, because many of the people who endorse Freelee and Durian Rider, where they kind of promote them and they want their own YouTube channel to be promoted to their friends, they don't follow the high carb, low fat diet. They're vegans. Like all the bodybuilders, including the ones who are personal friends with Durian Rider, they're all tracking their macros, keeping their calorie count low, keeping their protein intake high. So it's a high protein, limited carbohydrate, limited calorie diet. And I was talking about vegan Cheetah with this. I actually didn't put the video on my channel, so it was a private conversation. But I remember he was fine with it. But I was saying to him, like, look, so Cheetah, I said, even you've been afraid to talk about what your diet really is. I said, I know he's afraid of it. Like, the talking about restricting calories has become taboo. People are afraid to talk about it. Now, I'm not saying normal people need to. If you want to be a competitive bodybuilder, you need to. I mean, like vegan Cheetah, he's trying to keep his muscle mass as high as possible and his fat as low as possible, unnaturally low. So that when bodybuilders, when they pose, you can see the muscle standing out clearly. Now, less than 1% of people are ever going to do that. Normal people do not need a bodybuilder's diet or training. But to me, that's always just been such an incongruous contrast, where it's like, well, the people who are promoting your diet or promoting your YouTube channel, they don't remotely follow these kind of pseudo-medical... they're not eating unlimited carbohydrates. They're eating limited carbohydrates. And I'm not,
It's possible to eat unlimited.
Yeah, well, also, look, I'll just say, I mean, nobody wants to know about my diet because I'm not an athlete myself, but I do eat a high carb, low fat diet. My diet has amazingly little fat in it. I don't look that great. That's why I wouldn't preach it. My diet consists, here in Canada, right now it consists entirely of like bananas, bagels, and I've got some grapefruit. So it's all fruit and bread, my diet. I'm vegan, and I take a multivitamin. I do take supplements to make sure I'm getting vitamin B12 and the vitamins. But if I wanted to look like a bodybuilder, I wouldn't be doing this at all. And if I wanted to look like a model, I'd be doing something else, and so on. So anyway, I just mentioned also. So I told you this is a private conversation, but like for me, the main thing that's appealing about having a lot of fruit in your diet is that you're doing less cooking. And for me, I live alone. I don't really want to cook a complex pasta and then sit and eat it alone. To me, it's kind of pointless. So I just say there are other reasons that have nothing to do with weight loss, for why I eat a lot of fruit, or why other people might be drawn to fruitarian or high carb, low fat lifestyle. So, Anyway, cool. I wanted to keep this interview relatively short, so shall we stop it here? From my perspective, I'm going to see you in Chiang Mai in a couple of weeks because we're both going to be in Thailand. So
Yeah,
I may
gonna be here.
I may wear a disguise so that Durian Rider's followers don't hunt me down. So I don't know. I'll get some big sunglasses or something. But other than that, great talking to you, Leah. And again, I learned a lot of things about you talking now that I didn't know before, and I'm really happy for you. So and maybe both of us, maybe Japanese will be part of our futures, and maybe Thailand will be part of our futures. But stay in touch. I hope I talk all the time on my channel about how hard it is to know 5 people you can cooperate with. And how hard it is to keep in touch with people when you're a nomad, when you live in countries. So I hope you're one of the 5 people I still know 5 years from now.